Hello everybody, welcome to PowerShift. This is your host, Ghazal Izadi. I am CEO at XGS Energy. Today we are very excited to have Glen Robinson. Glen is Vice President, Generation Services from Constellation Energy. Constellation Energy is the largest producer of emission-free energy in North America. Constellation has a long history and leadership in nuclear energy, providing 10% of the nation's clean electricity. Wow. Now, with pending acquisition at Calpine, the company is bringing geothermal into its clean energy portfolio alongside investment in next generation geothermal technologies like XGS. We are super excited to have you, Glen. So with that, I would like you to give us about your background and how you get into this path and journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I started off my career in public accounting, so worked for KPMG, worked for principally large international companies, Imperial Chemical Industries and AstraZeneca Pharmaceutical, so industries that required large capital investment, and did a lot of business process redesign and that sort of work for them. I then went to work for one of my major clients, AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals, worked there for quite a few years in the finance roles, and then joined Exelon, which is the predecessor of Constellation, approximately 20 years ago. Within Constellation, had a variety of roles, principally have been in the financial roles, but then most recently have moved into roles where we're looking at business development, we're looking at new technologies, and how do we bring those into the portfolio for Constellation.
It's really great to have you here today. So we are going to have a lot of fiery chat about geothermal, renewable energy, the next generation of the technologies that bring this viable, affordable, sustainable solution into our grid market. Constellation is already a clean energy powerhouse. What excites you most about bringing geothermal into portfolio, especially in this investment on Calpine, which is largest geothermal asset one of the largest asset in the world, and also investing in the next generation technologies for geothermal?
Very exciting. Geothermal, when I think about it, I think about attributes and think about what that brings to the portfolio that Constellation has. And you think about the attributes of geothermal: 24/7 reliability, emission-free power, fuel security are all important attributes that our customers are looking for, and geothermal can bring those. As you know, though, it's been challenged in the past by sustainable production issues, locational issues, but all of those we believe can be solved by technology. As we look at it, it provides a great opportunity for us to improve the production of the existing assets via operational efficiencies and new technologies of those, but then investments in companies like XGS provide the opportunity to bring those technologies and free up new resources so that we can bring power to our customers where they need it, which is really an important part of how do you make geothermal expand and grow, is you have to make sure that you can bring it to the customers where they need it. So we see those opportunities as very akin to Constellation, and when we look at what we can do, we know we can operate assets well, we know we can bring technologies to bear, and we're looking forward to do that with geothermal.
With your announcement of acquiring Calpine, you are bringing geothermal into the mix alongside wind, solar, and hydro. How do you see geothermal fitting with your clean energy portfolios?
I think as you look at the opportunities to grow clean, reliable 24/7 resources, the acquisition of Calpine and the geothermal assets is a unique opportunity to bring those into the portfolio. So we're definitely excited about that. I think at Constellation, we're focused on how do we increase and expand our 24/7 assets. As you think about our emission-free assets in nuclear, we've announced uprates, and the recent announcement of the Clean Energy Center restart brings additional 24/7 reliable power to the grid, which is an opportunity for us that you don't see in a lot of places. As we think about that in geothermal, we look at our other assets. Also, we have renewable assets that we're looking at repowerings. The opportunities there, you can put in new technologies and see efficiencies of up to 40 to 70% in the output of those assets. So as we look at the remainder of our fleet and our renewable or intermittent assets, we see opportunities to grow in those areas. And then we see opportunities in things like we have a significant hydro fleet, and doing license extensions and extending the asset lives of those so that we can continue to bring that clean, emission-free power to the grid, but also look at ways that we can apply technologies and improve and expand on those is where we're putting our focus.
Technology and efficiency improvement.
Yes.
Those are great, and a lot of learning because you have a multiple different generation, renewable generation, so exciting.
Yeah, the value of that, the value of those assets and ensuring that they stay on the grid for years to come is an important part of the component that the Constellation brings to the table for our customers. We're focused on those efforts.
Glenn, many utilities and energy providers are still struggling with how to integrate intermittent renewable solar and wind into the grid. With Constellation nuclear fleet and now geothermal, you have a unique advantages. How do you see this combination of base load and flexible energy reshaping the future of the power?
I think as we look at it, after a relatively long period of slow energy demand growth, we're seeing significant growth in a lot of different areas. So you hear a lot about electric vehicles, electrification of industrial processes, AI data center growth. So for the first time in a long period of time, we're seeing significant growth. And if you look at that growth and you look at what's important to it, what a lot of them have in common is they're relying on 24/7 reliable power, and they want emission-free power as part of that, and low emission power to help fuel that growth in the future. As I mentioned before, I think we see opportunities for us to grow our portfolio and then expand and continue to provide those resources to the grid. We see public policy, the support for that and the customer demand are both hitting at the same time that allows for the opportunity to grow that non-emission and low emission energy to our customers. I think our role in the end is to provide customers with what they need, where they need it. Having a portfolio that includes baseload power that can provide security, reliability, and the commitment to the process that they need is important. That needs to be backed up with dispatchable power. So you think about gas assets, things like that. And then they want intermittent renewable, provides a strong part of that component also. I think Constellation plays across all those technologies in making sure that we're meeting our customers' needs.
You have mentioned before that the grid reliability is top priority. Given recent challenges with extreme weather, energy shortage, and grid instability, how does Constellation's drives clean energy portfolio contribute to a more resilient power grid?
There's a couple different factors that come to play there. So the increased penetration of intermittent resources, retirement of existing baseload assets, the growth in electricity demand have all come together to, along with the weather events that you've mentioned, extreme weather events, have all come together to put a focus on grid reliability. And how do you do that? And I think in the end, it's relatively fundamental in that you have to have a mix of assets that meet the needs, that are available, and can respond appropriately when you have events or have needs. So I think fundamentally it starts with baseload power. So having reliable baseload power that operates at high capacity factors, like our nuclear assets. Having fuel security is important. So we think about that when we think about nuclear, you have the fuel on site, so you're not reliant on weather events affecting that. We think about that for geothermal also. A big benefit as you look forward to it would be the fact that you have fuel security, and that can backstop grid reliability. After you get through the baseload power, intermittent resources and dispatchability becomes critical. So as you have increases in demand or weather events that create grid issues, you need assets that can be flexible, that can be responsive, and things like ramp rates and ability to hit the grid quickly are all very important for those dispatchable assets. And then we think about intermittent resources. So they play a strong role in the grid as also. So wind, solar, we play in all of those technologies, and they're important because they provide emission-free power. When you have the resource, they're of great value to the grid, but you have to acknowledge that you don't control when that resource is available. You need the base load and you need dispatchable generation. And when you think about that as a whole ecosystem, you can make it work. And that's what you need to do to make sure that you have the right focus to get grid reliability. So you can't do one or the other. None of them individually solves all the issues. Having that portfolio within Constellation enables us to provide those resources when they're needed.
Excellent. And I think if I want to summary on geothermal side, it is you touch on baseload 24/7, which is reliability, capacity factor, which is the same as nuclear, and I think the affordability because you don't need to combine it with battery storage, and it is resources providing energy all the time, so it can be a fantastic solution alongside the nuclear.
Absolutely. Yeah, the potential is great.
beyond your existing projects, Constellation is also looking at next generation of geothermal technologies like XGS. Do you see this is the way to unlock geothermal outside of traditional hotspots like California, Nevada, Iceland? So what is your thought on that?
Yeah, I think we see XGS as being capable of accelerating commercialization of emerging technologies, and that's one of the reasons we invested in it. I think as we've talked about, the importance of new technologies such as XGS with geothermal is it unlocks more potential for geothermal. So by expanding the ability to use or to access heat in different areas outside of traditional geothermal areas provides an opportunity to provide that power to customers that need it in different locations that you couldn't typically do. The ability of using a closed loop system for water usage allows you to have a much more friendly environmental profile and the ability to reduce costs so that you end up with, in the end, a product that you get 24/7 reliability, you have a better ability to put the power where your customers need it, and you can reduce the cost and the impact of the generation are all areas that we see XGS and new technologies as playing a part in.
I would like to echo what you said because water is a very important element in the future, right? And with harvesting heat without extensive amount of water would be a huge advantages compared to other geothermal systems. And California is one of the areas that has a lot of challenges with water. Constellation is positioning itself as America's clean energy leader with nuclear, wind, solar, and now geothermal. What is the long-term vision?
I think so. At Constellation, we're creating the cleanest, most reliable generation portfolio in the U.S. We have a diverse coast-to-coast portfolio of zero and low emission assets in areas that are seeing increasing customer demand. So we see the opportunity of Calpine and Constellation will have nearly 60 gigawatts of capacity from zero and low emission assets. And our opportunity there is to expand in those growth areas where our customers need that energy and provide through that portfolio of assets the products and the type of power they need it when they need it.
Glenn, let's stop talking about energy. I also heard that you are a big fan of science fiction. So what do you do when you want to unwind from energy and work?
Yeah, no, so absolutely, yeah. Big science, always been a book reader from a young age and have always loved science fiction and some of the classics of Asimov and Heinlein and others that I've enjoyed. It certainly is, there's a part of it that's escapism. It's something different. I've always liked the science fiction to me expands the boundary, good science fiction of what's possible and in the future. But at the same time, in the end, good stories are good stories. So ones that have a sub-story of human interaction and things like that, I've always found fascinating. And I'm not a huge fan of like business books and business self-help books. I think you can find all of that in good literature. Business books and things are great. They give you tools. They're not saying don't read them and don't pay attention. There's great things that come out of those. But I think you can get out of great literature, you can get the same sort of lessons. You can find out the same things that make the world work and that are how should you approach things in life? How do you approach people? How do you expand and push when you're looking at difficult issues? How do you expand and push things forward and work through issues like that? You can find all of that in good literature. So I find that escapism sort of helps you relax, but at the same time, there's an undercurrent of learning within it at the same time.
So what is the favorite book of yours?
It's difficult to pick a favorite. There's so many that are coming out that are, it's interesting to see books that then get translated into film. So the Foundation series is interesting. Don't know that I like it, don't know that I love it. Maybe not quite science fiction, but The Handmaid's Tale. Things like that, I think from a more modern, where you see interpretations of it, are ones that I've found myself going back to. Recently reread Jurassic Park, just because my son was into it and things like that. And it's just
that's fun.
Yeah, that's a sort of fun escapist type book, but interesting sort of sub stories behind that of how do you want to take the whole idea of DNA and cloning and all that. There's a lot behind it that you can think about and look into.
Glenn, what excites you the most from the next gen geothermal technologies?
Yeah, I think the opportunity to expand where you can bring that power to the market is the most exciting part. You can get efficiencies, you can go to existing assets and make them more productive, but the ability to take geothermal and move it to non-traditional geothermal areas, I think is an exciting opportunity within that. I think part and parcel with that is ideas that we've talked about you have to be able to limit water usage, and you need to be able to get the right efficiencies out of the heat source and the right geology to make that work. So there's still constraints you have to work around, but I think getting over all of those hurdles enables you to bring a product that customers need at a location where they need it.
Yeah, if I want to add a little bit on that, because traditionally for geothermal projects, we needed three components: heat, subsurface water, and geology, which relates to porosity and permeability. I think most of the next geothermal technologies is trying to reduce and basically make sure that we can develop this type of project anywhere, everywhere, when the heat resource is there. Less rely on the water. It's a big element, right? How you have a predictable system that you can bring the heat to the surface is very important. And I think with you and XGS, we are trying to really address those challenges for the next generation of the project through geothermal. So it is super exciting.
Absolutely.
This has been fascinating. Glen, thank you so much. Is there any last message you wanted to leave with the audience?
Thank you for having me. It's been enjoyable and a great conversation. I think, as we've talked about, for the first time in decades, electricity demand is growing. What we want to do is make sure that we're producing enough reliable, secure, clean energy to meet the customer's demands. Constellation has a big role in that through our existing fleet and the opportunity to expand and renew those assets for the market. And companies like XGS and our involvement with XGS provide the opportunity to bring new technologies to the market. Great opportunities, great significant challenges to overcome, and I think we're ready for the challenge and looking to partner with others to meet those.
That's exciting, and I think we all are excited to work together, and having a partner like Constellation is really great. Glen, thank you so much again, and to our audience, this is PowerShift. Be sure to subscribe for more deep dive into clean energy revolution. Stay tuned and see you next time. Thank you.